You know, it always bothers me when I do these and I'm kind of upset about stuff. It honestly isn't worth it half the time to respond to people like this, but I feel like when I do my Bonnet Chronicles, I already have a set thing and topic that I want to talk about. I try to stick to my show notes, so I didn't want to add this because I may go off on a tangent because I'm sick of people. I can't put it any less blunt than that. And I'm sick of a certain demographic, if I can be 100%, because you always seem to want to weigh in on stuff that you have absolutely no clue what you're talking about. And when somebody who has lived this life points it out to you, instead of stopping, reflecting, and understanding that I'm coming from a place that, yeah, I don't understand. I could never understand what it's like to live in your shoes, be like you, understand the biases and prejudice that you've had to navigate your whole life through the nothing that you can actually control. You don't get to tell your parents, hey, if you're two people of color or black people, maybe consider not having me because this world is going to treat me unfairly, biasly, no matter what I do. So, yeah, you don't get a choice in that, man. All you get to do is navigate a society that is structured against who you are, how you carry yourself, and the way you grow up in a lot of cases. Now, I don't know how it works over in England, and I know that a lot of the people that were responding to me when I made the mistake of even bothering in Omegon's video, because, of course, like most from Britain who think they're above certain things or think they're being cutesy with their oh no life matter or all life matter bullcrap, that they can downplay the effects of systemic bigotry, racism, and biases on people of color and black people, especially like me. And I made the mistake of weighing in on the fallacy yet again of the CRT boogeyman. And what bothers me about the people who are constantly against the CRT boogeyman is most of you don't even know what critical race theory is about. You have your ideas because you hear it from another person or another person's person. You have absolutely no idea what CRT is. You just hear that it's bad. It'll make white people feel bad. It'll teach white people to feel guilty for stuff. And it's like, do you even hear yourself? Do you hear yourself when you say it'll make white people feel guilty for what? Can you answer for what? Because I guarantee you, you don't want to say the for what part out loud. What would you feel guilty about? Because people in the past, some who may have been related to you, some who might not have been related to you, just sharing your lack of melanin, who were horrible. Stuff that you should know about, like the so called Tulsa race riot, which was actually just a massacre. Places like Philadelphia, which wasn't even 30 years ago, where they literally dropped bombs on black people's neighborhoods. Rosewood, where they burnt our towns down. And I know for those of you who think, oh, well, we're overseas. What's this have to do with us? Your countries aren't immune. But the problem is, as an American, when I see people all over the place push against critical race theory, I am often reminded that certain demographics feel comfortable in the way our society is structured, feel comfortable in feeling contempt for anybody that doesn't look like you, culturally identify as you, worship or decide to not worship like you. Anybody who is deemed different for what you think is the normal epitome of society is bad. And so many of you think critical race theory is just there to make white people feel bad. And that's the problem with your ideals. The whole point in teaching how to point out biases, how to mitigate acceptance of biases is needed for our society because this constant accepting that, oh, this person's less than me because they don't look like me. This person's less than me because we don't speak the same language. This person's less than me based on their gender, sexual identification, or lack of melanin is problematic and it's not sustainable. Teaching people to stop rooting their whole identity in biases also works with self-hate. It also works in stopping people who want to use said racist stuff to stop you from talking about certain things. And the whole problem with not wanting to deal with stuff and saying that it's going to inspire guilt is if we don't start really looking this problem in the face and tackling it, it's only going to get worse. We are a digital capable society, one where it's almost a constant now for me to see the last life throes of a black man, a black child, or even a black woman, because our police seem to think that we're animals that can be killed. And people want to blame this, that, or the other, but we don't want to look at how our society has structurally condemned anyone black and especially brown from living prosperative lives. And for those of you who think, well, what's this have to do with me? I don't say anything racist. I have friends of a certain color. I might even be dating somebody of a certain color. The moment you come out against learning about what we've gone through, what you might even hold on as a stereotype here or just a joke there, when you cannot confront and question the acceptable levels of bias that you allow into your life, that is a problem. Too many people get comfortable and you don't want to shake that comfort. And you're afraid of the world. What if the world does accept everybody? Where does that leave me? In a more balanced world. But what troubles me is the amount of people who push back against common sense. It should be common sense for you to learn about the atrocities of the past so that we don't repeat them. But too many of you pushing back against it because you know deep down you want to hold on to that hate. You know deep down you don't want to lose that supposed place in society that you have based on your lack of pigment. It is getting pretty clear as you make woke an enemy, as you make CRT an enemy, as you continue to harbor biases against anybody who doesn't look like you, act like you, pray like you, or run in your supposed social circles. It's tiring. I don't just say this as a black woman. I say this as a human being that is just wanting us to be and do better. I am tired of seeing the constant pushback of people who say, oh, well, I would like to do more about the situation, but CRT is the enemy. And then when you ask them, okay, where is CRT being taught? Where is it being taught? Because here they're rallying against it in our elementary schools. And I can't speak for English, so I won't. But here they're acting like it's being taught everywhere, which it's not. Fox News loves to drive that lie, and people eat it up. It is an elective in not that many law schools here in our country. Yet for some reason, it became the narrative of the alt-right and very dysfunctional hate groups here. And it's become a running mantra amongst the so-called intellectual types who think that's the new narrative. That is the new narrative. Teaching white people to not only be anti-woke, because you don't want to be too woke, you don't want to be branded a fragile little snowflake, but also against CRT, which is an elective course in select law schools. Not even all law schools teach it. And it is to teach inherent structural biases that you can not only legally get around in certain civil and criminal cases, but how to structurally see how the system is stacked against certain people. I am exhausted that I even have to say this because even I have a limited knowledge of it since I am not in law school. But I am willing to do the research and look up stuff, figure stuff out, not just listen to different propaganda. If I thought the CRT was being used as a cudgel against people, I would speak up against that because it's not supposed to be used as a weapon against people. It is not supposed to be used to shut people's voices out. But if you're a white person right now going, well, I feel like if I hear too many bad things about what my ancestors did, I'll feel bad. I said, why do you feel bad? Do you feel bad because you want to continue what your ancestors did? Because if not, if you're feeling disgust at the way the past was, that's a good thing. That discomfort should move you towards seeing fellow human beings as that. Learning when to interject yourself and when to mind your business. Learning how you can, by mentally not contributing to the issue, help us move towards a society that does not accept systemic racism, and other bigoted biases. But I feel like the push against that is you letting people like me, especially, know that you're for the status quo, if not worse. And some of you think you're slick about it as you argue in YouTube comments about how, oh, I just don't want to feel guilty for being white. And it's like, it was never about that. The fact that you pinpoint on that, the fact that your mind can't process past the fact that it isn't about your whiteness, it really isn't even about you. It is about identifying the issues with bigotry and especially systemic racism and stopping it in its tracks. And it starts with you waking your fucking mind up to the fact that it's not a sustainable society anymore, that we are seeing so much unrest, so many unnecessary deaths because of this bias, and that we can no longer continue to sustain this. And all of you anti-CRT, all you anti-woke boogeymen, all you are doing is continuing the death throes of hate and bias. You are perfect little foot soldiers for fuckery in this unnecessary culture war, because I am not your enemy. Even though I'm sure that just by looking at me, some of you's already drawn those battle lines. It's tiring. It's tiring trying to exist in a world where all of you want to just hold on to this illusionary high bar, I guess, that society has unfairly given you. And instead of learning how to be decent people, instead of understanding that to be a decent person, you can't look away. I never had a break from the way this world really is in regards to hate, prejudice, bias, gender bias, and everything else. I've navigated it as best I can, but it is exhausting after 40 plus years. So when I say it is time for more people to open their eyes, stop being so fucking easily swayed by, oh, the easy button of, I don't want to learn that. It'll make me feel guilty if I learn that. It's easier for me to just hold on to my whiteness because it's like a comfortable blanket for some of you. Yous are exhausting. And this will be the only time I ever make a video like this responding, because you really aren't worth my time. I know I'm wasting my time with a lot of the people that were in those comments. Probably will get dunked on by the person doing the video. I don't care at this point. I'm an old lady. It is what it is. I'm just sick and tired of the excuses. If you're anti wokeness, if you're anti CRT at this point, if you're anti decency at this point, so be it. I'm not here to convince people. I'm just here to state clearly what I was feeling after reading that yet again asinine set of commentary to something that really wasn't even directed to any of you. It was to the comment that that young man made in his video. But like clockwork, whether you ask for them or not, certain demographic has to come in and talk about how, well, I personally would love to tackle the issue. I just don't want to see the issue and I don't want it to make me feel bad. And use a reason why we can't really tackle the issue. But that's just the way you want it. And that's the sad reality of why CRT is probably really needed, but why it won't be taught. Because you can't teach people who keep their eyes and ears covered, who keep their hearts shielded from it, who definitely keep their minds closed to a better world. Yous are the roadblock in our progress. And until yous are ready to move, most of us have to navigate around you. And that's just the reality of our situation.